Birdsong, and we're here to answer some questions for Spot On.
I hate to tell you, but they say it's so alright. The shepherd lost his grip and now the wolf's inside.
So, I'm Matt. I play drums in Exploring Birdsong. And I wrote a lot of the lyrics for the first couple of releases. I think that's how interesting I am.
I'm Lindsay. I play keys and I'm vocals for Exploring Birdsong, and that is about my whole personality.
Hi, I'm Johnny. I play bass and keys for Exploring Birdsong, and I'm also not very interesting. So this has been a success all around.
What a great interview. Thank you, so glad we could help. So we met, Matt and I met at university. We also met Johnny at university. But when we met, we decided, basically I was wearing Genesis merch and Matt clocked it. So he sent me a message and said, I saw you wearing a Genesis t-shirt, what's that about? Because no one else is, what are you doing? What music are you into? So we discovered we had a lot of music in common, and we thought it was pretty weird to have a drummer and a keyboard player sort of get together and see what happened and what kind of music could get made. So the first rehearsal was I would say relatively successful. Well, here we are.
In fact,
relatively.
The grand scheme of things.
And then Johnny came a very short while after that, because we had again discovered that we have a lot in common in terms of musical common ground. So we got together and asked Johnny to join, and he said no.
That's not a joke.
Until
You
he
did
said
actually
yes.
say no.
Until eventually he said yes.
Yeah, it took a year,
So, yes.
but eventually I said yes.
Exactly.
And it worked out okay. So it's good.
When we were in uni, Lindsay and I took songwriting classes together, and our tutor at the time, we showed a really sort of like embryonic version of one of the songs, and we had sort of like samples of like birds tweeting and stuff like that and other stupid shit. But, and she listened to it and sort of said, I guess it's a case of exploring birdsong. And we were like,
What?
hold that thought.
Have you got a pen?
Yeah. And Lindsay and I looked at each other like,
It was weird. We did look at each other and
yeah.
thought, sounds pretty
Because
good.
like, thinking of band names is like the worst bit in the world.
Yeah.
It's so annoying and long. So we'd been sort of like trying to think of what name would sort of encapsulate what we did at the time and what we sort of still do now. But there's loads of names getting thrown about, and that was the one where we both sort of instinctively went, oh yeah, that's sick. Let's do that. We once got described as, it's like Mastodon, but if the guitars were replaced with pianos with Kate Bush singing, that's the most succinct way I've heard it put.
That's something.
Yeah,
That's something.
but it's piano synth driven pop rock
Prog.
stuff. I don't. Yeah, it's very piano led, very vocal led. Rock, I guess now. It's weird because these questions, like a few years ago, would have been totally different, but now it's, you know, because obviously COVID and everything, we've evolved so much since like pre-pandemic times. So our answers sort of like it's sort of in a bit of a grey area as to what we actually sound like now than what we sort of did back then. But that is probably the most succinct way
I
of
would say that.
putting it.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
lock
there
that
you
one in.
I think the best thing is that with what I've always loved about this is the writing process is so natural. So even when I first joined, Matt and Linz had been writing for a year by the time I became a member of Exploring Birdsong, and a lot of the songs were like basically there, but it might need a little like an ending or a bridge or this sort of thing, and I really enjoyed coming in and doing that, and you know, we just love writing together and things come so naturally. Like we remember writing the downpour in Matt's flat at uni, and that the thing in the outro of the backing vocal line, I don't remember one of us coming up with it. It was just suddenly that's what we were doing, and that's how it came about. So I've loved how natural like we all work together.
I think the reason why we've sort of, I don't know why the process has always been kind of smooth, is because when Linz and I were first writing together, there was only a piano, like an acoustic piano, and a drum kit in the room, and obviously Linz's voice, but it was sort of, we were just using what we had there, so we didn't have this like crazy big like studio where we could play about with loads of different things. It was basically just like, we had what we had in front of us, and we wrote within like those means, and that I think made, I don't know, sort of ingrained a pretty sort of like seamless writing process into, you know.
It's a big thing about writing within limitations can often generate really interesting results. So for you guys, piano and drums, and then when I came in, introducing bass into it and working around other things like doing heavy moments without a guitar,
Right.
and things like that. And we've started adapting synths into the sound as well, and seeing where we can put things like that. So
Another best moment is the process of recording our second release was just the best time. It was like towards the end of COVID, and we went down to a studio in South Wales, and just, it was just amazing, because we'd had 2 years of not being able to do anything or see anyone, and then the guys that produced the record are just the best dudes in the world, and it was so good. So that's for sure like one of my peaks of being in this band.
definitely.
Worst.
Worst.
One of the worst that I can think of is at a certain show years ago. Nameless. We were told that there was going to be some gear there, and there wasn't. And we turned up, and obviously we run like click tracks and stuff through like in-air monitoring and stuff, and we were told one thing, that this certain bit of gear was going to be there, and we got there and it wasn't, and it meant that our front of house engineer was literally so we had to borrow an in-air monitoring rig from someone, and he sort of had to cut open wires and like solder them back and like twist them back together backstage, sort of like 10 minutes before we were due to start. I've never ever in my life been that stressed. It was awful.
It was up to the moment we started playing. We were still sorting out details of how are we going to use this, how are we going to do that, and you know, from when we were on, we had like a 10-minute amount of time to start playing, and then that show was one of the best ones we've done. I think, and that was the biggest show we'd done at that point as well, I would say. So I think we didn't have time to be nervous or worry about things because we were so preoccupied with this. So once it got working, we were like, oh, time to play, and the relief of knowing it worked actually, I think, helped settle us into the show.
I mean, it was just a miscommunication. No one's fault, but it was just so stressful. I can't really think of any other best moment.
Well, that was a nice one because it's a worse moment that goes into a good
that's
moment.
lovely.
Well, there we go.
Ooh, I love that.
I think we've all got individual ones.
Yeah. I don't know how to answer this because what I listen to now is influencing me the most now, and it's hard to sort of get out of that headspace. I think Agent Fresco are like massive influences on what I like
Maybe our joint favourite band.
the mutual common denominator, I guess.
Yeah.
I've always really loved Biffy Clyro. Someone else can go, because I've forgotten.
Yeah, Biffy Clyro was a big one for me. I saw them live when I was 16, and I thought, and it's still like maybe the best live show I've ever seen. I just thought it was incredible. So yeah, that's a big one. We've all grown up on our dad's iPods, so there's a lot of like Pink Floyd, Genesis, you know, all this kind of thing. And in terms of modern stuff, yeah, Adrian Fresco, out of a band called Everything Everything. I think they're amazing. Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for these two because they have been on a long journey with me through loving Kate Bush so hard. And they've really stuck by me. Despite the trials and tribulations that brings to songwriting. But yeah, I'm a huge Kate Bush fan. So I carry her with me everywhere in my writing. So she's a huge influence on my style of singing, but also my writing.
And that's for all of us as well, because you've introduced both of
For
us
sure.
to Man listened to Hounds of Love like 3 months ago for the first time, and you were like, wow.
But it's wild because there are bands like Mastodon, there are bands like Gojira, there are like heavier bands that definitely make their way into our music.
Coheed and Cambria.
Coheed and Cambria.
Massive.
Huge.
You were wearing the t-shirt earlier today.
That's so true.
That's true.
That's so
Yeah,
true.
that's a big one.
Yeah. So yeah, I think our music has always sort of been like, if we have a certain band in common with the listener, then the listener will hear it. But it's not necessarily at the forefront of the sound. You kind of have to dig a little bit to find it, but I promise it's there. Like, we are just as much fans of this kind of music as we are in the scene making it. So, you know, everybody kind of gets their way into what we write, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
If you want to check out Exploring Birdsong, you can find our debut EP online, you can stream it, you can download it. So yeah, hope you enjoy it. You can find out our music basically online. No, we started again!
Oh, you're going to run out
You're
of
gonna
tape
psych me
before we're
out.
done.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Fetch the tape.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh shit, I just spat bread on me, sorry. I'm sorry.
I hate to tell